So now that most of the big NBA offseason moves have pretty much already happened, and all the big free agents have decided where they're going to be playing next year, and pretty much all the big trades have already happened, I thought it would be a pretty good time to just come out with my top 10 players at every position in the NBA right now. And of course, we're going to be kickstarting this series off with my top 10 point guards in the NBA right now. Before we get started, I do want to say check out my podcast if you guys haven't already. The link to it is in the description below. I do want to try and grow that thing, so it would mean a lot to me if you guys could go ahead and check it out, and just drop and subscribe there if you guys enjoy the content over on my podcast. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get this video started. And at number 10, we have Jrue Holiday of the Milwaukee Bucks. Jrue Holiday, I'll admit he was pretty inconsistent in the playoffs when it came to his shooting, but he was a really big part of that Milwaukee Bucks championship run, and he's a damn good player. And I mean, there's a reason why he made this list. I mean, he was really good for the Milwaukee Bucks last year. Now, as I said before, his shooting, it was really inconsistent in the playoffs, but Jrue Holiday provided more than just, I mean, he did other things outside of, like, scoring and shooting and stuff like that. Like, for one, he was a really good playmaker, and along with that, his defense, I mean, as usual for him, it was awesome. Our Jrue Holiday, when he's playing his best basketball, he is a solid all-around guard. He can score the ball pretty well when he's, at least when he's, not breaking everything. He can also shoot the ball pretty well, and again, at least when he's not breaking everything. And as I said before, he is a really good playmaker, and he is one of the best defensive guards in the league. Like, first team all defense level good. That is how good Jrue Holiday is on defense. And simply put, he was a big part of that Milwaukee Bucks championship run. And I mean, he was just really good for the Bucks last year. And hey, I mean, here he is at number 10. And last year, he averaged 18 points per game, 6 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, shooting 50% from the field and 39% from three. Not much else I really have to say besides, I mean, he's an all-star caliber player, and he's awesome. At number 9, we have Kyle Lowry of the Miami Heat. Now, Kyle Lowry's stats, when you look at them, they may not be eye-popping, but he does other things that really do not show up on the stat sheet. I mean, for one, Kyle Lowry can do everything you want from a point guard. He's pretty good at scoring the ball. He can shoot the ball well. He can make plays for others, and he can defend at a very high level, especially when you consider how, I mean, he's much shorter than most, NBA players, and he's pretty short for a guard. Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's really good. I mean, when you just take a look at, how short he is, I mean, of course, 6 feet isn't, super short, but, like, simply put, he's just awesome on defense. And along with that, Kyle Lowry is a super good leader, and he helps out a lot when it comes to leadership and off-court stuff like that, and he's a really good locker room presence. And I think he's going to make a massive impact on the Heat, not only with his on-court stuff, like the scoring, shooting, and, stuff I mentioned before, but also, his leadership. I think that's going to really help out a lot. And, I mean, Jimmy Butler, he's already one of the best leaders in the NBA, but Kyle Lowry is just going to add even more leadership. So, simply put, Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's just a really good player. And last year, he averaged 17 points per game, 7 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, shooting 44% from the field and 40% from three. At number 8, we got Darren Fox of the Sacramento Kings. Darren Fox had a career season in 2021, and he is one of the most underrated players in the whole NBA. Personally, I gotta say, he is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I really like this guy a lot. He can score the ball very well. He's really improved as a shooter. He's a good playmaker, and his defense, it's not exactly the best, but he's not a liability on that end of the on that side of the ball either. And even then, I mean, he doesn't exactly have the best defensive players around him. And I mean, Darren Fox, I mean, his defense, again, it's not the best, but I mean, at the same time, he's not a liability. Fox, I mean, he may not lead his team to a crap ton of wins, but he does play on the Sacramento Kings, and he has a terrible coach, and he plays in a loaded Western Conference. And hey, I mean, if you had a better coach and played in the Eastern Conference, I mean, Darren Fox the Kings would probably have a much better record, but that doesn't change the fact that Darren Fox is a really good player. That is why he is here at number 8, because last year, he was awesome, averaging 25 points per game, 7 assists per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, shooting 48% from the field. Hopefully, Sacramento can turn things around, because, I mean, those fans have been through so much pain. That's one reason why. And of course, Darren Fox, this man deserves it. He is an awesome player, and I really do hope that, soon enough, the Sacramento Kings can finally start, becoming be a winning team again. And Darren Fox, he gets the taste of winning, but not much else I have to say from Darren Fox besides, he's really underrated. At number 7, we got Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook, despite his age, is one of the best point guards in the NBA, all right? Now, I got to admit, he will do some very stupid things on the court, and when you see it, you want to just bang your head against a wall, but from time to time. And he does turn the ball over a lot, but with the ball to a dominant player like him, that is kind of expected. However, Russell Westbrook, even though he does have quite a bit of bad, he definitely has a lot of good when it comes to him, all right? He's a very good scorer. He's really good as a finisher, great as a playmaker, and amazing, and he's a really good rebounder. One of the best rebounding guards in the league, maybe the best, all right? He is a triple-double machine, and I know people will criticize him for being a stat chaser, and don't get me wrong, he probably does have a little bit of that urge to, put up good stats, but Russell Westbrook, he is a really good team. Not to mention, Russell Westbrook is one of the best leaders in the NBA. Personally, I think Bradley Beal was the best player on the Wizards last year, but I do think Russell Westbrook was the much better leader. Like, this guy plays with so much energy, and he's just really good. He's pretty good at leading his teams, and he can take like a pretty mediocre roster, and I do think he can, help carry them to being a playoff contender at the very least. Like, Russell Westbrook, he's a really, just impactful player when it comes to his leadership, and it will be interesting to see his fit alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And last year, he averaged 22 points per game, 12 assists per game, 11.5 rebounds per game, shooting 44% from the field. Hopefully, Russell Westbrook can, maybe win a championship one day, because I do like him. And Russell Westbrook, just a really good player. Not much else I really have to say for Russ. Up next, we have Chris Paul of the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul, like Kyle Lowry, and doesn't put up eye-popping stats, but he does make a massive impact outside of the stat sheet. I mean massive impact. His impact, it can't be overstated. He makes a really big impact, despite the fact that he really just isn't like a superstar caliber player. He is one of the best veteran leaders in the whole league, and he was a big reason why Phoenix was the 2 seed in the West last year, and why the Suns made the finals. Chris Paul, he's a solid all-around point guard, and even though he is not the same player he once was, he can still do anything you want from a point guard. He can shoot the ball well, he can score. He's one of the best playmakers of all time, and he can still make plays for others at a really high level, and he can still defend at a pretty high level as well. And now I will admit, he did have his bad moments in the playoffs, and now, to be fair, he was dealing with an injury, but a shoulder injury. And Chris Paul, he's still a very good player. What really lands him here is his leadership and impact when it comes there, and even then, he is still an all-star caliber player when it comes to, his numbers and, stuff like that. And last year, he averaged 16 points per game, 9 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, shooting 50% from the field and 9.5% from 3. Hopefully, CP3 does end up with the ring one day, because that man has been super unlucky, and hey, he is a great player, and hopefully he does end up with it. Preferably, it would be awesome if he was on the Nuggets, because, well, it would be a win-win. My Nuggets get a ring, and he also gets a ring. Anyways, next up, we have Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Trey Young is one of the best offensive guards in the whole NBA. He's a super good shooter. He's a very good scorer. He's great at finishing around the rim, and he's a really good playmaker. Now, Trey Young was a massive reason as to why Atlanta made a deep postseason run, because he was pretty much their main source of offense, obviously, and he was the best player on that team, no question. Now, I will admit, his foul baiting can be annoying as hell, but no one can take away from the fact that, he is a really good player. Personally, I'm not the biggest Trey Young fan out there. Now, I don't really like hate him or something like that, but I'm not the biggest Trey Young fan, but even then, Trey Young, he's still a really good player. Last year, he averaged 25 points per game, 9 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, shooting 44% from the field and 34% from 3. I do want to also add that, while he does have his goods, he does have his bads. Like, his foul baiting, that's just annoying from a fan perspective. Not exactly the worst thing when it comes to, an actual, basketball player perspective. First off, his defense is just awful, to put it simply. That man is a liability on defense. To be fair, he is pretty short, and for a basketball player, of course, and he does have a skinny frame, but Trey Young, he's still a really good player, and his efficiency numbers, I'll admit, they don't look as good, but he does take quite a bit of tough shots, and he is kind of the only ball handler, on the Hawks, so hopefully his efficiency numbers do improve, but Trey Young, really good player. Up next, we have Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers. Damian Lillard, he is one of the best offensive players in the NBA. He can score, shoot, and play make all at elite levels. Sadly, Portland hasn't seen a whole lot of playoff success with him because the teams around Dame have never been amazing. Now, he could get traded, and he stayed loyal his entire career, which is pretty respectable, but I do want to see him, get a ring one day. Not the biggest Dame fan out there, but I mean, he's a really nice guy, and I mean, he's a great player, and last year, he put up absolutely amazing numbers of 29 points per game, 7.5 assists per game, 40 rebounds per game, shooting 45% from the field, and 39% from 3. At number 2, we have James Harden of the Brooklyn Nets. Now, it's probably weird seeing him here because he usually does play the 2 guard. However, I consider him a point guard since he pretty much runs the Nets offense, and Kyrie Irving himself said that Harden is the point guard. But yeah, anyways, James Harden, one of the best offensive players of all time. He is one of the best scorers, shooters, finishers, and playmakers the league has to offer. James Harden can pretty much do it all on offense at an elite level, aside from rebounding. I mean, he's still a pretty good rebounder, but yeah, James Harden, awesome on offense. Now, his defense has definitely improved. Still not a great defender, but James Harden is still he's definitely improving on that end, and he went from being a negative to being like a neutral on defense. Now, he does have a habit of underperforming in the playoffs, but no one can take away the fact that James Harden is an awesome player, and last year, he averaged 25 points per game, 11 assists per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, shooting 47% from the field, and 37% from 3. At number 2, we have Luka Doncic. In 3 years, he's quickly become one of the best players in the NBA. His help has not been amazing so far throughout his career, but he can play the 1 through 3 due to his size, and he is one of the best scorers, shooters, playmakers, and he's also a really good rebounder as well. This man, he's extremely good on offense. His defense, not the best in the world, but at the same time, not a liability, and he 100% deserves the extension he got. He got paid, and I gotta say, he deserves it, and hopefully he does start getting, much better help soon, because Luka Doncic, he's an awesome player, and he deserves it. Now, again, like Trey Young, his foul baiting can be annoying, but Luka Doncic is still an awesome player, and last year he averaged 28 points per game, 9 assists per game, 8 rebounds per game, shooting 48% from the field and 35% from 3. At number 1, we got Stephen Curry. Look, he was easily going to be number 1 on this list. Stephen Curry last year had arguably his best season yet, and I mean, this man had one of the greatest peaks of all time, and Stephen Curry last year was just awesome. He was a top 3 MVP candidate, and his team just missed out on the playoffs, but you can't fault him way too much because the help around him was not exactly amazing, and he's the best shooter in NBA history, amazing scorer, and he's also really good as a playmaker. And last year he averaged 32 points per game, 6 assists per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, shooting 48% from the field and 42% from 3. Stephen Curry, man, just a great player. Not much else I really have to say from him, and I mean, that's gonna be the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to me. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button as it really helps out the channel, and also make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and enjoy this type of content so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I am finally gonna do a face reveal. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.